Hello, this is David from DN Cognitive Counseling. Tonight we had a question: how do I not take things personally, especially when I'm under a tremendous amount of stress? And the truth is, right now, for a lot of us, the stress levels have increased due to the fact that we're dealing with a world pandemic. And stress normally breeds two things: irritability and frustration. So one of the ways in which you could look to de-stress situations is something called reflective listening. I want you to think for a minute. Somebody says a statement to you. The first thing that goes in your mind: I was just attacked. This person is putting me down. And your defensiveness increases. One of the ways to de-escalate that situation is to say to the person, are you saying, and then explain what you think they're saying. When I've done many years of marriage counseling, where I've done this exercise, and more often than not, the other partner's like, no, that's not what I mean. That's not what I'm saying. And the person has a lot of emotional resentment based upon something that doesn't even exist. There's enough real issues that we have in relationships. We don't need to invent more. So clarify with the person what they're actually saying first before you make the assumption what you're hearing. A lot of times you'll say, did you say that you don't like my idea? And the person will say, no, that's not what I'm saying. I think we just have to look at it a little differently to see whether or not we could hash it out. Sometimes people say, did you just call me a name? Foolish, silly. And sometimes the answer is no, that's not what I'm saying. But we have to be honest enough and open enough to ask the question before the assumption. Many times somebody will say, I never said that. And the person will say, yes, you did. I heard the words came out of your mouth. I just want you to think about how many people mistakenly say things, but without making it their meaning. They're called mistakes or a gaffe. We're all human beings. We all make them. The way we say something doesn't always come out the way that we're meaning it to. So technically you may have heard words that were to the meaning what you're ascribing, but it could be that's not what the person meant because it wasn't scripted out, well thought out, and what happens is they make a mistake instead of saying what they're saying. So you want people to ask somebody, is that what you mean? We would do a lot better in terms of our communication and understanding with one another. And we would save a lot of time for resentments and anger if we just did this one simple, small exercise. So what you're saying is, what your meaning is. So this is what you're telling me. And repeating it back to the person what you think you heard. You will be very surprised if you take that small little step, how much conflict, anger, and resentment you could take out of your life. And you won't have to deal with it anymore. Now, there will be cases where what you're hearing and what you think you're hearing is absolutely the same truth. And that is conflict resolution, and not for now. But that would be a situation where you actually now have to deal with a conflict. But like I said, more often than not, that's not the case. And you'll have a lot more energy to deal with real conflicts when you don't have projected ones. I think in the last week, I've had 9 different clients who have told me about past or even present issues they were having with relationships or people or friends, where the assumption was this person said this. And I had them go back to clarify. And in all 9 cases, the person was like, no, that's not what I meant. And the person comes back to me and goes, David, here I am being angry and upset, and it wasn't even real. And I go, exactly. Another thing we can do is when somebody does upset us, is to tell them. Another thing that we don't always focus in on is that we step on sometimes on people's toes without realizing it. And saying sorry in the moment doesn't allow resentment to build. So give people the benefit of the doubt that they may have not noticed they stepped on your foot. And say, do you recognize that you just did this to me? Again, most people at that point, well, not most, but lots of people will get defensive. I didn't mean that. That's not what I thought, right? The defensiveness normally comes out first instead of the, oh, I'm sorry. But even in this case where somebody gets defensive, you're giving them the opportunity to recognize and hopefully get past that to be able to apologize. Defensiveness is really an overused defense mechanism that leads us to more pain in the long run and suffering than we need. So one of the things that you want to do is come down with those defenses. In the 10th step in AA, we promptly admit when we are wrong. Why do we do that for? Because it gives us the ability not to develop any self-loathing, self-hate, self-anger, or resentment about self. I'm wrong about things. It's life. Human beings, we're all going to be wrong about things. And being wrong is normal. We want to be able to correct when we're wrong. We want to be able to see how we can do better to correct our behaviors and make our lives a lot better and sweeter. And when you can promptly admit when you're wrong, it makes your life a lot easier. Because at that point, it gives you the ability to do a corrective action to that behavior and stop hurting the person. Nobody has ever destroyed a relationship because of a mistake. We destroy relationships because we don't acknowledge them, we don't correct them, and we don't work on making it better. We hold on to the mistakes, creating worse ones and worse ones because we like to stay in denial. So the practice of reflective listening, asking what they mean, the aspect of less defensiveness will lead to a lot more harmony and less issues in a person's life. I hope that you'll find this helpful. And please, if you have a disagreement, I'd love to hear it, and please comment below. If you think this will be helpful to somebody, please share the video. If you like the video, hit like. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And of course, if you would like to support the channel, you have the link below in the Subcribe-star. I thank you very much, and good mental health.